In-depth journalism in the Memphis community, the Daily Memphian is of Memphis, not just in Memphis, and seeks to tell the stories of this city. TheDailyMemphian.com. Truth in place.
Hey y'all, and welcome to the Daily Memphis Tigers podcast. I'm Parth, Upadhyaya, the DM's Tigers basketball beat writer. I'm joined, as always, by John Martin, our college sports columnist here at the DM. We've got a lot of Tigers hoops to get to. Many awards were handed out, obviously, yesterday that the Tigers dominated. And American Athletic Conference the American Athletic Conference Tournament, begins in Fort Worth, Texas. Started today, with Charlotte beating Rice. I think they came back from down 11. But Memphis obviously does not start until Friday in the quarterfinal game. John, how's it going?
It's going great, man. Obviously, this is the last podcast we will have to do where we talk about AAC. That's the best part about it. We will not discuss when we are on next Tuesday with with what we're doing with the Daily Memphian here in the webinar. We will not talk about the AAC, other than to say that it held Memphis back probably. But we will not have to preview any more American Athletic Conference basketball games after this week. So that brings me great joy.
Yeah, that acronym will mean nothing to us.
Nothing, not a thing. It
in
never
6
did,
days,
though.
right?
It never did.
No, that's funny. Man, seeding's a big discussion point, obviously, this time of year. Tigers are ranged anywhere from, I've seen 5s, which is rare, but I've seen some 5s. I've seen some 9s, which is also rare. More frequently, what I've seen is a 6 through 9 range, or 6 through 8 range, rather, right, for the Tigers.
Yep.
That's odd, right? It's not normal for a team to have that big of a gap or variance between projections across the board.
Yeah.
What does that stem from? Obviously, I think, it's the two ways looking at it, right? Between the metric viewpoint and the body of work. Yep. Is there anything else to that?
No, I mean, I think that's what you have. You have a resume and you have predictives. I think Memphis's resume is as good as anybody's in the country. At least through a half of the season. But that's the problem. It's like when you're in school, and you turn in an assignment, but it's incomplete. It might be good, but it's not finished. And I think that's kind of how I think the committee, or at least I can't speak for the committee, but people around the country view Memphis as incomplete, as having not finished it, or because again, it kind of just looks like their season ended, right? It kind of looks like their season trailed off. Yeah. And it kind of did. I mean, the issue, and I always explain to people, it's not that, people will say, well, you shouldn't have lost to Temple and Wichita State. Of course, I guess, but you went 16-2 in your league.
Well, you shouldn't have played all those teams tight. I think that's the thing, right? You talk about season ending. Their season mentally, to some people, could look like, oh, they just checked out because they're sleepwalking against the likes of Rice and Charlotte and so on and so forth. That is true, but I mean, at the end of the day, that's the counterpoint.
I think the real issue is that they have not played a team inside the top 50 at KenPom since Ole Miss. That's the problem.
Yeah, the closest thing they've gotten is North Texas, which is at 58 in KenPom, I believe?
That was January 15th.
That was January 15th, yeah.
So, I mean, that was 2 months ago. So I think that's really the main issue, man. It's like it's the absence, right, of the opportunities.
Correct.
To get quality wins. Not even not getting them. It's the absence of even having the chance to get them. And I think that's really where Memphis gets dragged down. The point I made on the show today was if you just inverted Memphis's schedule, if Memphis played if they played their AAC schedule in the first half of the season, November through December, right, and then they play their out-of-conference schedule from January to March, we would be talking about Memphis as if they were a 3 or a 4 seed, right?
No, that's a good point, but would we, in terms of, because the body of work would still be the body of work, right? Like, if they did what they did in their conference, in the non-conference, in terms of, yes, going 16-2, but, beating teams like
all they could have done
is Rice by 3 and by, Tulsa by 12. If they did that, would that still drag them down metrically enough to where they couldn't make up the ground? I don't know.
I think they would have been able to make up. And I think more importantly, I do not know for sure. I can't say that for sure. But I do know that a public perception of them, right?
Yeah,
would be 10
Optics
times
would be
better.
Yes,
10 times better. And
recency bias is real.
It is real, and it's the same record. We're saying not a win is different, not a loss is different. Everything stays the same.
So still losing to Temple, still losing to Wichita State, still losing to Arkansas State.
You start your year 16-2, right? and then you finish 26-5. Or 26-5 with the you beat Ole Miss, you beat Clemson, you beat Michigan State, you beat UConn. Everybody be saying Memphis is a championship contender, bro. That's what they be saying about Memphis. But because they got those first, and then people are looking at what they did in their league and almost sort of extrapolating it to mean that they're a worse team or
are they falling off?
Yeah. I mean, I don't believe that's true. I just think that they're a victim, they're a prisoner of this conference. They're a prisoner of this league. I mean, even Gonzaga has fallen victim to that, right? Like they beat St. Mary's on Tuesday night, and they're going to probably jump a seed line as a result of that. But it ain't like they're just cruising through the West Coast Conference either. They've lost plenty of games in the West Coast Conference, and that's why they are, as of before last night, they were your roommate on the in the 8 room. So I think that's what these schools are dealing with. Power 5 teams get to play a quad 1 game every other night. SEC, Big 10, Big 12, maybe not so much the Big East this year, but that's the difference. You don't get those chances, and not getting those chances winds up costing you in March.
No, for sure. I think the bigger problem, and I guess you're alluding to it, is this is so unprecedented, right? Like in terms of national title contenders, I saw a tweet from BetMGM earlier as I was driving in here that said, every national title winner since 2002 has been both, you've seen it, right? Top 40 in offense and top 25 in defense. Memphis, that's in KenPom, obviously. Memphis right now sits at 69th in offense and 41st in defense.
Now, on that stat real quick.
Sure.
That's not exactly an exclusive group of teams, right?
Sure it is.
If you're top 40 in offense and top 25 in defense,
well, that's a
lot of schools.
And Memphis is one of them.
Nobody thinks Memphis is going to win the title, though, Parth. I mean,
no, but you get what I'm saying. Like your top 5 seeds, are typically teams that you would say it's not delusional to think, hey, a 5 seed, insert team name here, can cut down the Nets in March or April.
Right. Oh, that's true.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure. But that's why Memphis is not going to be a top 5 seed. They're going to be a top 7 seed. I mean, that's why. And those typically now UConn, right? And also, I would say this: you can improve, and Memphis has improved over the course of a tournament. Your KenPom numbers still go up as you go deep into the tournament.
Sure.
Right? Go look at FAU at KenPom, what they were before the tournament started and how they ended.
You're right.
So they could still finish top 40 in offensive efficiency. They could still finish top 25 in defensive efficiency if they go on a Final Four type of run.
Shoot, I'd be curious to go look at Memphis from 2 years ago. They obviously lost to FAU in the first round, but before they started that AAC tournament, before they walloped Tulane by 40, right?
Exactly.
Before they beat Houston, number 1 overall seed Houston in the title game. Like, what were their metrics then?
I'm going to look it up now.
I don't know.
That's the beauty of it. We have the internet here. They finished 20th. Obviously.
They finished 20th, yeah.
So before they were 34th. So they jumped 14 spots in the span of 3 games.
So it is possible to make those kind of leaps. 14 spots for this team would be 48 to 34. That put you respectably right
there
in the mix.
Right there. I mean, so yes, if they do that. Now again, who did you beat? You did beat Houston in that stretch.
And you beat Tulane by 40.
Yep.
40 points in a semifinal of a conference tournament.
Yep. So basically, so the way it worked was you were 34 going in, then you were 32 after you beat UCF. Then you were 33 when you beat Tulane, 28 when you beat Houston, and you jumped 8 spots.
By losing to Florida Atlantic?
No, that's where they finished. They jumped 8 after beating Houston.
I see.
They were 20th going into Florida Atlantic. And then Florida Atlantic, let's see them. When the tournament started, they were 29th at KenPom.
Okay.
They finished 17th.
Yeah.
So 13, 14, 15 spots has been done quite a bit before. So, yes, what you are today, that stat doesn't necessarily have a cutoff date, right?
No, it doesn't
say teams that are in the top 40 and top 25
as of March 10th.
12th.
No, nobody's saying that. No.
So I think that's an important caveat.
No. And I think it goes back to the bigger question is like, hey, is this Tigers team capable of flipping that switch? And we've asked Penny this for weeks. He's probably tired of us asking this.
Yep.
But, when you've played the best of the best from November 4th through December 31st, and you're playing, some of the, I don't want to say worst of the worst, but some of the slouches of the ecosystem of college basketball.
Yeah.
For an 18-game span, like, how do you then get your motor back up to, hey, it's go time, right?
Yeah, I think that's going to be the key, The best ones do. The best ones have, Memphis, right? In 2008, they found ways to do that.
Yeah.
I do think this team has that, and what gives me hope about that is that in the meaningful games within this crap,
Sure.
They have almost always met the moment.
And that means the two UABs, the one on the road at Tulane. Yeah.
2 FAUs.
Yep.
North Texas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've met the moment every single time. They haven't lost any of those meaningful games. So that, to me, gives me like, all right, yeah, they kind of play with their food a little bit like a toddler when they play Temple or when they play Wichita State, whatever. But when it comes time to be a man, not that necessarily matters, but a grown person, they handle their responsibilities.
No, indeed. And their first responsibility could be, as we talked about, a rematch against Wichita State, because Wichita State and USF are going to play tomorrow, Thursday, March 13th.
Yeah.
In I think it's the quarterfinal, I'm sorry, not the quarterfinal, the second round game.
Yeah, not quite. That's
not quite.
Is that where Memphis lost last year?
Memphis lost in the first game they played, which was on Thursday. Yes, the exact same spot.
So it was the second round, not the quarters.
Second round, not the quarterfinal. Yeah. Second round, but their first game, they got bounced upon entry.
Everybody was ready for that season to be over.
Man.
Everybody. Even people on the team, people that cover the team, the coaches, everybody. It's like it's like one of those things where it's like, it's still possible. Like, no, it's not. That team is not winning the AAC tournament.
It would have been nice to see a magical run, but it just wasn't going to happen, right?
No, by that point, they had completely collapsed, and it was just like you're playing out the string, you know? Everybody was ready to exhale.
No doubt. So now with, either Wichita State or South Florida coming up, South Florida, if they happen to beat the Shockers, Memphis has put, belt to, twice already on them,
Yes.
And I have no doubt the Tigers can do it a third time.
Yep.
Wichita State, however, with the style they play defensively, the size they have with Quincy Ballard and those guys, the way they rebound the basketball from 1 through 5, right? Everybody rebounds the hell out of the basketball. That's what I'd be concerned about if I'm a Tigers fan. What's your concern level if the Shockers do end up facing the Tigers come Friday at noon in Fort Worth?
I mean, it makes me uneasy. I'll be honest.
Yeah.
I'd much rather South Florida win, like you said,
Yeah.
Because there's really nothing going on with that team, right? Wichita State is funky. They're a funky team, and I don't think they're good, but they're very strange. They're strange to scheme against. What do you zone them? Do you play a man? Like, what do you do with them? They have unorthodox players. And Ballard has given Memphis fits. Now, what I would like to believe is that Dane Danger takes that game personally because he was played off the court in the second meeting.
Penny admittedly, he said it on your show that he benched him,
So I'd like to believe that, okay, Dane's going to make sure that doesn't happen again. He's going to be a lot better because that they missed him in that game. I mean, he had, 2 points? I mean,
I want to say he had 4 points and 1 rebound or something like that.
And he's giving you basically 15 or 16 in this stretch. So you missed that. You lose by 5. You missed that. So I still think Memphis would win against either one of those teams, but obviously I'd feel a lot more comfortable if it's South Florida.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And if, Memphis was to advance, which even if it's Wichita State, right? It's a team that lost to Tulsa.
Yeah.
Less than a week ago.
Exactly.
Are Tiger fans really worried or shaking in their boots about Wichita State, bro?
No, they shouldn't be.
Man.
You're right, because they had that stretch where they won 4 or 5 in a row.
They got hot.
And now
a lot of teams get hot.
Not hot anymore.
They're not hot no more.
North Carolina won 7 in a row.
Yeah, and look at them now. They got pummeled.
They had
pummeled,
a chance.
I tell you, by Duke.
They had a chance.
They had a chance, but
did
they really have a chance?
I
watched that game.
They were what, down 7 or something with 9 minutes left, and
they were down 11 in the first half, and they came back to I think not tie it, but they were only down by 2
they were
at
down
halftime.
1 at the half.
Down 1. I'm sorry, down 1 at the half, and then they took the lead in the second half, if you recall, only to then have Duke come.
Duke's unbelievable.
Pushing right back, right?
Duke wins. Duke covers. They're a machine.
It is a machine. Duke, Auburn,
all the 1 seeds.
Florida.
I think that's the thing I would say to
Houston's a machine
fans.
As well.
Every single one of those ones. I think there's a real chance they all make the Final Four.
But it's kind of a chalky type.
Very chalky.
March Madness, yeah.
Because I don't really see, none of them are injured, right?
Mm-mm.
None of them are bad offenses. All of those teams have top 10 offenses, top 12 offenses, and for the most part, top 10 defenses. So it's just not a great year to be at 8. And so whatever Memphis can do to avoid that.
But look at the 8s, though.
Oh, the 8s?
Didn't you say it on? I forgot who said it on their show locally.
It's UConn, Memphis, Kansas.
When do you get those type of teams and those type of brands, those type of coaches
you're right.
in that 8 spot, right?
It's definitely sick. It's sick, but
it's going to be a fun March.
I would still, I'd rather play Tennessee at the 7-2 game than any of the ones.
No doubt. Or Iowa State, in that 3 spot. Right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I just
give me Iowa State if I'm Penny.
I'd take a shot at them. I don't love it, but they at least have been banged up. So
they've been
you got a shot.
They've been kind of falling off a little bit.
Yeah.
If you look at what they've been doing over the past 2, 3, 4 weeks.
You got a shot.
If you're going through this bracket though, right, the AAC tournament bracket, because you got to take care of business there before you get to the big tournament where the lights are bright. If Memphis advances past the winner of Wichita State and South Florida, it would then play either Tulane, 4-seed Tulane, or the winner on that other end of Florida Atlantic, Rice, and Charlotte. Let's assume it's Tulane if we're just going to kind of pencil in the top seeds there. Tulane's given Memphis fits in the past. This year, not so much. This year, a little bit, actually, until the Tigers pulled away and won by 12 over there in New Orleans. How would you feel about Memphis getting through Ron Hunter and the Green Wave?
Yeah, I mean, I feel very good. I don't think Tulane's good at all.
What team would give you worry? Let's ask the question backward. North Texas. Okay.
That's it. I mean, I think
so. You would see them in the title
game, exactly. And by then, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't, right? Because 2:15 p.m. is the title game tip-off. Selection Sunday show starts at what, 6:30?
It's over.
So the bracket's already
you're set,
printed,
you're in.
Laminated, Sharpied, whatever.
Exactly.
Like it's done.
They're not going to change it. The only thing they would do is whoever the last team in is, they would get replaced. That name would get replaced by North Texas.
I see.
Obviously. That's the only change. They're just monitoring the outcome. They're not watching it. They made their mind up on Memphis. Losing a neutral site game, would that be a quad 1? No, it'd be a quad 2.
It'd be a quad 2 because North Texas is not top.
Yeah. But it would be, that's not going to hurt you on a neutral, right? That's not going to kill you. So I don't think it would drop you.
You'd rather not have it.
Oh, you'd rather not have it.
You already got 3 quad 3s, right? You want to get.
It's not going to drop you from a 7 to an 8, though.
I would hope not.
I don't think it would. That would be unprecedented. I mean, Memphis has won this thing against Houston, and it hasn't impacted their seeding. So
without Marcus Sasser, does that matter? Do you think?
Still, though, I mean,
no, it doesn't matter.
It was the number 2 team at KenPom. I mean, if that can't help,
I believe it was Houston not number 1?
I don't
know.
Yeah, I mean, they were 1 or 2.
Okay.
So
either way,
I mean, you didn't get anything out of that. So I would hope that a loss would not damage you on the other side of that.
For sure. On the winning end of things, right? If Memphis does what it needs to do, what we expect it to do, which is win 3 games in 3 days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, with the final game being North Texas, it's hard for me to imagine them being a 8 seed. Like I just don't see a scenario where a 29-win, 2-time conference champion, regular season and conference tournament champion is in that 8 spot. What do you think?
Probably not. I mean, they may not be an 8 seed now. They may be a 6 seed. We don't know. I mean, we truly don't know. I know that Bracket Matrix has the consensus of
7.24,
which is the first 8, basically, the way that all breaks down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just hard to know without, we knew they weren't top 18 before they lost to Wichita State. So we can safely assume they're not back in that top 18
Of course
mix.
not. Yeah.
Probably not the top 20 mix, but could they have been 22nd? Could they have been 23rd? That's the stuff we don't know. But yeah, I mean, if Memphis wins the AAC tournament, like I think, like if we're presuming that Memphis doesn't lose Friday or Saturday, whatever they are is what they are. Right?
And what are they in your mind? If you had to guess, I know we don't know.
I would say a 7.
A 7?
I would say they're a 7.
You don't think a 6 is possible?
I don't.
11-2 in quad 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean it's
pretty good.
You have a case.
Pretty good.
You have a case. It should be heard, but I just think they're going to end up putting you on the 7 line, unfortunately, just because, the quad 3s, as you mentioned, if Wichita State had stayed a quad 2, I'd feel a little bit better, but that's dropped back. And so
none of the good teams have those quad 3s. I'm looking at it right now. I'm looking at the net right now.
That's right. And that's what somebody in the committee is going to say. They're going to say, listen, Memphis had a great out-of-conference record, but one thing they have that these other teams don't have is the quad 3s.
And 3 of them.
Because the other teams don't play those games.
Exactly.
They don't play quad 3s, bro. They play 1s and 2s. That's it, exclusively. So that's your problem. That's a problem. I think that will be the anchor for this Memphis resume ultimately, in terms of 6 or 7.
And to your point, that's why it needs to be more nuanced. The conversation in those rooms in Indianapolis, it needs to be more like, hey, yeah, Memphis does have those 3 quad 3s, but these other teams don't even have the chance to stub their toe. Where Memphis is trying to avoid toe stubbings at every single stop. It's human nature to stub your toe twice in a 18-game sample size. It's just human nature. So that's tough.
Yeah, but again, I certainly believe that this team has shown enough to warrant that kind of 7 line, and it shouldn't matter to people, honestly, as long as they're out of the 8. It shouldn't matter where they are, because they've shown that they're good enough against the Michigan States and the Clemsons of the world. So I think they'll be just fine.
And that was the last thing I wanted to kind of run by you before we head on out of here. But assuming they get out of that 8-9 game, right, they get to a 7. A 6 is even better, but let's say they get to a 7. We're splitting the difference here. what are the chances of them getting to that, elusive second weekend for the first time since 09? It'd be tough, right? You're still playing a 2 seed.
Yeah, I mean,
round of 32.
I mean, I think they'll be an underdog, obviously.
Obviously, yeah.
But I think they're live against anybody as a dog. I mean, they won outright at Clemson as an underdog. They were a short underdog against Michigan State. They were a big underdog against UConn. They relished that role. So, I mean, I think Memphis will be live against any team on that 2 line for sure.
Yeah. I think 8-9 is a different story, though.
8-9,
like you said earlier, when you've
8-9, you're just hoping to win one and get out of, put a fight up in the second round.
Because you've got Auburn waiting, Auburn and Janai Broome. You've got Duke and Cooper Flagg. Like, you've got those type of teams waiting.
You don't match up well with any of those teams. Nobody does.
Nobody does. Period.
So, I mean, there won't be any shame in it.
No, it won't.
But
unless you get ran by 50.
You'd like to believe,
wouldn't happen, I don't think.
Right.
That'd be shameful.
You'd like to believe that, there's a way that this team can go on a second weekend run. And to do that, you got to avoid 8-9. There's no question.
And man, Penny said it to us on, Tuesday, yesterday.
Yeah.
That he feels like anything less than a Sweet 16 wouldn't be a disappointment, but that's the goal, right? Sweet 16 or bust is in his mind, the goal for the season with the talent that he has. So I guess let's see if they can do it. It's the best time of year, man.
Absolutely.
Best time of year. That's all we got for y'all today, though. Thanks for listening, and check all of our work out at dailymemphian.com. Please subscribe, rate, review us wherever you get your podcast from. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever else you listen. Oh yeah, and producer Natalie points out we've got a live Q&A, a Memphis Tigers basketball live Daily Memphian Q&A coming up on March 18th at 3 p.m. We'll send those links out in your inbox, email, so please look out for that. We've got 50 spots, and it'll be myself, John Martin, and Jeff Calkins chatting, answering y'all's Tigers Hoops questions, and just having a good time. So, all right, so we'll see y'all next time. Thanks a lot.